Hi, my name is Heather the Heat Hardy, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.
This is Amanda the Real Deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.
Hi, I'm Courtney. And I'm Janita. And you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former IBF featherweight world champion Tevin tells current IBF featherweight world champion Joseph JOJO Diaz to pump the brakes on any ideas of facing Mexican superstar, former world champion Abner in an all-Mexican showdown in Southern California. There's been talks of Abner possibly facing off against Joseph JOJO Diaz. Joseph Diaz is 31-1-15 by way of knockout. He's 27 years of age, fights at the featherweight division. That one loss coming at the hands of reigning WBC featherweight world champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. He recently beat Tevin, who was holding the IBF world title, defended it multiple times. January 30th, they had a showdown in which Joseph JOJO Diaz won a unanimous decision victory. So he's looking for obviously big lucrative fights, that being Joseph Diaz at this point in time. He wants to capitalize on, his big victory over Tevin. He was an underdog going into that fight, and now he wants to, capitalize on it. He wants to defend it. Abner is 31-3-1, 15 by way of knockout. Abner is a former world champion. Abner is a big name in the sport of boxing. He's a featherweight, and he's of a Mexican descent and from Southern California as well. So this would be a big, huge homecoming fight for both guys. It would do big numbers, but Tevin has other plans. Tevin tells Joseph JOJO Diaz to pump the brakes as he is activating the rematch clause, and he will be facing off against Joseph JOJO Diaz in an immediate rematch to regain his IBF world title. And he said Joseph Diaz is trying to avoid fighting me because he know that wasn't the true version of myself, this being Tevin that fought him back in January. He says, but he knows, and I still won 5 rounds, not being myself. He said he knows when I'm fully healthy and I'm fully myself and I'm fully focused, I'm going to win the fight. So all the talk of Abner and Joseph JOJO Diaz has to come to a screeching halt because I am activating the rematch clause, and I will be fighting Joseph JOJO Diaz to regain my title. I thought personally Tevin was going to win the fight. I thought he just had the skill set, the foot movement, the ring IQ, the ring generalship, and the speed advantage over Joseph JOJO Diaz. So I thought that he would win the fight, with his boxing ability, and he has great defense. But he showed none of that in the fight. He stayed right in the pocket. He was fighting in the phone booth. He wasn't using movement. His defense wasn't there. He looked like a shell of himself. He has been very, very active, as of late, having tons and tons of fights on top of fights, this being Tevin. So Tevin needed a break. A lot of people in the boxing world felt like it was time for him to take a break, but he wanted to fight. He wanted to be as active as possible, and he did so. He fought tons of times since winning the IBF strap. He fought and defended it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times. He lost, obviously, the 6th time being Joseph Diaz. So Tevin looked stale. He looked flat. He looked like a shell of himself. I would love to see a rematch. I would love to see him focused, locked in, and like you said, 100% his normal self against Joseph Diaz. Joseph Diaz against Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell clearly outboxed Joseph JOJO Diaz, and I thought Tevin was going to be able to do the same, but he wasn't able to do it. So I would love to see a rematch and see how this plays out when everything is lifted, the quarantine and the pandemic comes to an end, and sports and boxing resumes as normal. I would love to see this rematch because I think that Tevin will make the necessary adjustments. He'll be better version of himself, and I think he'll win the fight. So let's see how this all plays out. Then maybe Tevin could land the Abner fight. Maybe Joseph Diaz gets a trilogy match, or maybe we could see Gary Russell versus Tevin Farmer. Who knows? But let's see how this all plays out. But Tevin Farmer activates the rematch clause and puts a screeching halt to Joseph Diaz versus Abner Mares fight. So let's see how this all plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. You already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Hey, this is Jasmine. Thank you for watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Hola, soy Jasmine. Gracias por ver Sangre Azul Deportes TV. Gracias.